Welcome to Rabbi Son, hot takes on news, pop culture, and religion, hosted by Rabbi Patrick and Javon. My son, turns out, which is why it's Rabbi Son. Spiritual, irreverent, always fearless, produced by Darshan Yeshiva. Javon, how's the world treating you?
Like the world.
Like the world?
Regular.
Like the world of math class. Less than thrilling.
Yeah.
But you had a job interview today, so that's good.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, yeah.
I mean, fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's tough because, like, when you're in that weird stage between, like, teen job, which is like, oh, I'm going to quit this as soon as, like, summer is over or something like that. And then, like, you're in college, and so you need a job, but also, like, very few college jobs are also career jobs. It's a weird transition, like, to be fair. Okay, so at the end of every episode, Javon reads a quote. Unfortunately, with the last quote, we forgot to mention the name of the person. So his name's Leo.
Something
or another. Now we can't remember his last name. So Leo, if you're still alive, which he's not. Okay, well, all right. Well, then that's a terrible thing, because you should actually, in Judaism, there's this idea called B'Shem Omro, which means that you speak in someone else's name. So, like, if I have some religious idea, I can't just say that I came up with it. I have to have a series of precedents, just like legal precedent. And I have to quote different people in order to arrive at my own opinion. So it's to speak in someone's name. So we spoke in someone's name with Leo, but we didn't do proper attribution.
Yeah, we said Leo.
That gets us somewhere, at least.
Yeah, halfway doing it, but it's done.
Halfway doing it, but it's done. Unfortunately, that's also not a good approach to, like, homework or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
Just putting it out there as a disclaimer to any college students. All right, so I want to talk about a subject that I know has been all over the internet, and is probably an old topic now, but it's important to me. It's important to me because you and I, as like a father-son team, we do this show. We're kind of letting people into our lives a little bit, not like creepy too much, but enough. People learn about you being in school or what our house life is like, stuff like that. But I am fascinated by this idea of trad wives, and not just trad wives themselves, but of the industry around trad wives. So, Javon, did you know anything about trad wives before I even brought this up?
No.
Okay, yeah, this is totally not on your radar. Okay, so traditional. Okay, so trad wives are these women that they talk all about how, like, women shouldn't have jobs outside of the home. They should, cook and clean and take care of the kids, and these kind of very traditional gender norms, right? And they wear, like, dresses, and perfect makeup and lipstick. It's a very, like, almost 1950s, early 1960s nostalgia type of move. And I think there's people like that. I mean, they kind of like cosplay in a certain way. Like, I've known people who, they dress like it's still, punk rock in the 80s, or they dress like, it's the 1950s and it's the women who wear A-line dresses everywhere and stuff like that. Like, that's a thing, right? But this has this sort of weird culture of, like, gender and sexuality and conservatism versus liberalism and economics and politics and all this other stuff. But these trad wives, they make tons of content. They're getting marketing partnerships. They're influencers. But here's the thing. And I'm not here to judge people's, lifestyle, whatever. But here's my thing. If you make money off of content, if you are promoting yourself as a brand, aren't you just working at home? Right? Like an actual trad wife would be someone who doesn't have an Instagram account and isn't, like, tweeting at, the Daily Wire to get their own show or like something like that, right? Like, so I don't know. What are your thoughts on this trad wife thing?
Well, I am going to judge. I am the adjudicator.
You're the adjudicator?
I am.
Oh, are you? Okay.
No, but I mean, technically, like, if we're going to be, like, technical, like, word, like, they don't have a job outside the home because their job is in the home. And it's
right. I mean, that's
homely,
fair. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
But, like, they're not, like, these traditional like wives and moms. Like you
Mhm.
have your own media. You basically have a media empire. You're making
You're a
money.
one woman, media
You're
empire.
making money. You're bringing income into the home. You don't actually believe in a woman not having a job because you recording, you doing content, you editing videos.
Right.
That's
That's a lot of work. I mean,
Exactly.
honestly, we have a woman who does this for us. That just shows you the sheer volume of work that it takes place to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, and then I don't want to say parenting comes easy to some people.
Okay.
And some children are just easier than others.
Okay.
Some moms don't, have time to put on a full face of makeup and get the camera lighting just right and put on the best dress.
Right.
And then some do.
Right. Right.
And that's just those people. I don't, feel like they're really in the moment with their kids. They're just like, oh, let me set up this perfect angle.
Right.
Make sure they're doing this thing and make it like basically it's like a facade, like this creation of this perfect life. When we know that's really not the case. Like, so she can put on makeup, do all this stuff, but at the end of the day, I don't get the point.
Well, so it's great you bring that up because what about the phenomenon of sharenting? Right? So you have these, YouTubers, content creators, whatever, and they're always posting pictures of like things they do with their kids. And then sometimes they do these like I almost called them like staged realness of like, I don't know, there's like dirty pots and pans or something in the sink. And then they take a picture and this is just me being real. My life's not always perfect, blah, blah, blah. But you almost wonder, did they dirty up the sink? You know what I mean? Like, did they set that up as like a here's me being real, but then they have to get the lighting on the dish soap perfectly, stuff like that.
I mean, it would depend on how old their kids are. And if the dishes are left in the sink by a child who washes dishes, then you're not actually parents.
Oh,
like we're gonna be honest. You're not
judgment.
Yeah, you're not teaching your child. When I was young, the first thing I learned how to do was wash dishes.
Was it?
Yeah. Yes, and clean that kitchen and sweep that floor and mop that floor and wipe that table off. So like, yeah, and I was pretty young. So like, if there are dishes in the sink, then someone's not doing something right. Maybe we should put the phone down and
right,
teach lessons.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a question to me of like, okay, so if you do this like mommy blogger, parent couple blogger, family blogger thing, like, do the kids get royalties? You know what I mean? Like, if you're,
I mean, probably not.
Yeah, I mean, not like no, because there is no royalty system. But like, shouldn't they? And I guess
they should. Is their image.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling about it. It's like, okay, so if it was like the 90s or something, and my dad never held the camera in his life, but like we had a little like video camera thing, right? Had actual cassettes in it, like the whole 9 yards. If he had filmed something with me on it, it's understood that that's like for us. That's like a family video, right? If I take a video of you, it's a family thing. There's no commercializing of it, right? So yeah, I'm not going to ask you to sign like a waiver saying that I can use your identity, right? But if you post it online and you're getting ads for HelloFresh, like, I mean, at some point it does blur that line. And there's even rules like, in Hollywood, there's like, I think it's called the Coogan Law, which is rules about like how payments are distributed to kids. And all of these other things. And like none of that applies with social media. So if I was to put together a video documentary and post it on YouTube or Rumble or something, and it's like, growing up with the rabbi, Javon, blah, 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 right? Like it would beg the question, like, aren't you entitled to something as a result of that? And with these little kids or with these like families that have like, 8 kids and counting, I do wonder, like, why don't the rules apply to them?
I mean, there's no law.
Right. Yeah.
Because social media is not like television.
Right.
And honestly, now that you think about it, I don't think parents should be posting their kids online anyway. Because one, they're pedophiles. And I don't understand why you feel comfortable enough to like put your child like on the internet. Like, that is not something like you can be a parent and you can like people can know you're a parent and never see your kids.
That's a funny thing because we had these friends in Atlanta, and then when we left, we kind of lost touch with them a little bit. They weren't really prolific on social media. And then one day I just kind of noticed them talking about like, our kid did this, our kid did that. And I'm like, wait, you have a kid? And then on top of that, when they like then eventually posted the kid, they did a thing where like they took an emoji, like a smiley emoji, and put it on the kid's face. And so I was like, what is this? What are you doing here? And then I learned about the whole idea of people doing that now as a like not sharing your kid's identity or facial recognition or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. Like, you should be posting your children. It is just like why are you being weird? Like, it's honestly a weird thing to do. Like, your child image should not be going to anyone else. Like, if your family members or a family friend, wants to see your child, then they can do that in person. You don't need the child to be on the internet. Like, you don't need everyone to know that you're a parent.
Right.
Like, because parents who are parenting and who are actually busy aren't, sitting back and saying, doing all of this whole production.
Right.
They're just like, maybe once in a while they post like a family vacation photo, or just like, a happy birthday, or just like, and like, or graduation. Like, sure. Big milestones are not like everyday instances, because you don't need to know that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we'll post like, I think when you finished up with high school, we posted about that, or like a holiday, we'll post about that, but that's about it.
Yeah, we're not simple stuff, not what I'm doing every day in this house.
Right. I mean, I say that, but then we also run a podcast together. So like,
but you don't know what I'm doing every day in this house.
That's right.
So
right. And you're also an adult.
Exactly.
So that makes a difference too. Right. That does. Okay. Gotcha. So, you had a question about pork.
Yes.
Okay. So what you got?
So, because I was thinking.
Okay.
And, we brought it up before, but, obviously we didn't bring it up on here.
Yeah.
But the idea of whether or not Jews could own and run a pork processing plant.
Okay.
And nothing that you've told me said they couldn't. You just said you couldn't eat it. No one said you couldn't, process it and sell it.
Right.
It's just the consumption part.
Right. So I haven't had a chance to really like read the stuff back there to have a look. But maybe we should do a follow-up video where I actually put forth that effort. So check that in, the show notes that I need to do that. There are ideas around what's called deriving benefit. So for example, Orthodox Jews will sometimes have 2 trash cans, and that way they don't mix meat and milk. Because it's the idea of one trash can, you are now deriving benefit from mixing meat and milk.
I mean, but the trash will end up in a dump, so meat and it's the same. So ultimately, you're doing it for no reason.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to give the quirkiest example possible.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's like a waste of trash bag and a waste of trash can. Or ultimately, they're going to the same place.
Well, okay, so I'll give you another example. So I don't know how they do it. I don't fully understand it, but apparently in Israel, so you can buy pork in Israel. The question is, but can you raise pigs? And so they did it in some kind of way where basically like if you're raising the animals, so think of like the ground, okay? They basically terraform it so that there's an extra layer of ground on top of the ground. Mm-hmm. And so now the pigs are basically not living on the land of Israel. They're living in this like kind of alternate space. I don't get how any of that works. I've never researched it. I've never like bothered.
Yeah, but that's Israel.
Whatever. But here's what I'm saying though, is that like that's an example of like ways in which rabbis work to allow certain kinds of things that would just on the face of it be unacceptable. So so here's where I'm going with that. So could there be some kind of way that you could make an argument like the one you're making of, well, as long as you're not eating the animal, there's no problem? I bet you could probably find a way. Do I think most people who are concerned about Jewish law would immediately jump to, if there's a will, there's a way? Like, probably not. Like,
I mean, if you're not concerned about Jewish law, are you really in it for real? Because like that's the whole point. The whole point is to challenge. From what you told me, it's to challenge thinking. Like it's a religion that you think about.
Well, that's true. Yeah, absolutely. So, but a lot of people don't. Like a lot of people, they just do whatever their families did, or whatever their rabbi teaches them, or whatever. So
I mean, you got to teach yourself sometimes.
Well, that's true. You definitely do.
Yeah. So like, if you feel like something is, you don't feel like doing that thing, having that separate trash can, read it in the text, and then there you go.
Well, yeah, that's what I would encourage anyone to do. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So and with the whole Israel thing, I don't get like, what is hate against pigs? Like, pigs exist. They're a thing that exists.
So here's the reason why, like, with pork it would be a bigger problem. So some rabbis have these very mystical type ideas around that, about why, like, a pig is a bigger issue. So that's part of it. Some of it has to do with the fact that, like, the idea is that you can't eat an animal that has that doesn't have split hooves and chews its cud, right? So you think of, like, a cow, right? Split hooves, chews its cud rather. Okay, so there's this idea that, like, well, but pigs do have split hoofs; they don't chew their cud. So there's these kind of, it's homiletics. It's very sermon-y type stuff, but basically it's this idea of, like, what makes the pig more malicious religiously is that it looks fine on the outside, but inside itself it's not. Whereas there are other animals that when you look at them, you objectively know, like, oh, it doesn't have a split hoof. So therefore,
I mean, what's going on inside the pig is not going inside the cow, because the cow has like 3 stomachs.
Well, right, but but the pig doesn't chew its cud. Like, it's 2 requirements, both of which have to be true for an animal to be eaten.
What is cud?
It's like how they, like, basically chew on their food and, like, vomit it back up and chew it. That's what cud is. Basically. I'm, like, not giving a very good example.
That's what pigs do?
A lot of animals, they just, like, chew on the food that's, like, in their body. It's a thing they do. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, but, like, so that's a teaching about pigs. I think, honestly, the pig thing, though, has more to do with history, because if you look at ancient Israelite settlements, like when they do archaeology, things like that, they find that the difference between an Israelite settlement or home and a non-Israelite settlement is the existence of pig bones. So like, architecturally, culturally, they look exactly the same, except for that difference. Now, maybe in a non-Israelite area, you're going to find like deities or something like that. So you might have something like that, but that's really a huge difference. I think also, to bring it back to more recent times, one of the ways in which anti-Semites would mock Jews is forcing them to eat pork. So I think there's kind of an element of that as well. That's more of like a cultural connection of, like, this was used to, like, mock us. And so it's even more of an issue. So, like, we know someone who will not eat pork, but she'll eat shellfish. And I didn't know that about her till we were having dinner with them just one night. And and it was like a place that had, like, lots of seafood. So I'm ordering, like, the flounder sandwich or something like that, right? And this person we know is ordering like shrimp or something. And she made a point of being like, I would never eat bacon, but this I've always seen as fine. So I don't know, that's that person, but, like, it's just, there's this some kind of, like, I don't know. That's all I got for you. That's the best I can do. But with the money part, I get where you're coming from, which is, but it's not you eating it, sort of stuff like that. So maybe there is, but I'd have to do deeper research.
Like,
on it.
I mean, if pigs weren't meant to exist, God wouldn't have created them. To all religious people out there, remember.
But I mean, does that mean we need to eat everything that exists? Should we be eating people?
I mean, people did, but your religion doesn't teach you to eat people.
That's right.
It doesn't teach you to not eat people.
Cannibalism is forbidden.
Oh, see, exactly. See,
I guess I don't know.
No, I'm just saying, like,
no split hoofs, no chewing of cud. You could eat a person if you wanted to.
Yeah, but, like, I would say you, like, with a sell a person, but, like.
Well, let me give you a piece to this. That's the pork situation. So this is now a question that rabbis are thinking about with artificial meat. So if you go into a lab and you just 3D print, a piece of pork chop, is it okay? And there's rabbis that are actually seriously debating this because it doesn't come from an animal that has split hoofs and chew its cud.
Yes, it
However,
does.
well, not if it's a bunch of amino acids that are printed out and then formed through electricity into a piece of, pork, right? Like there's no animal that came from.
Yeah.
It's an artificial representation of something that does exist in reality. Don't eat fake meat.
You've heard it here first.
Well, but it's a question that the rabbis have been asking themselves. Like, what do we do? And I think it's all the more interesting because Israel's on the forefront of some of this lab-grown meat stuff.
Yeah, the rabbis say no to fake meat.
What do you have against fake meat?
Everything.
Okay, well, give me some of the everythings.
I mean, okay, for example, like when it comes to all these hormones in the food.
Okay.
Like right now.
Okay.
People are talking about that. It's making kids go through puberty faster.
Okay.
It's like, I don't want to say it's causing all these issues because, I'm not a scientist.
Right, we don't know.
Like, it is affecting people's hormones.
Okay.
And, like, who wants to eat fake meat? I'm not going out nowhere eating fake meat.
You did. I remember we were in a kosher grocery store in Silver Spring, Maryland, and you did buy fake meat just to, like, see what it was about.
Yeah, and it was nasty.
Yeah, it wasn't that great.
No, I'm gonna stick with my, organic Bessie,
Brought to you by Orthodox Jews outside of Charlottesville.
Exactly. I know where it came from. I know how I was raised. And then there you go.
Yep.
Nothing more, nothing less. No extra hormones. Just grade A quality beef.
No one is sponsoring this, by the way. These are his own personal opinions.
Just good meat.
Just saying. If you wanted to sponsor it, if there's anyone who wanted to sponsor the show, you let us know.
I have to try the product first. You don't get any free sponsorship.
That's true. That's true. Fair enough. Okay. Well, speaking of food, so I got to have a conversation with you. This happened like an hour ago. You decided to make yourself a sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
I see the washed pan sitting on top of the stove, which, I mean, I guess thank you for washing the pots and pans. But
because I was raised.
But tell me what was on said sandwich.
It was a turkey and cheese sandwich. Yes, it was.
Okay. So, I had some conversations with you about this situation of, meat, dairy, pans, kosher pans.
Well, to be fair, I've never seen you cook any, meat on that pan.
Right, because it's a dairy pan.
Yeah, I was cooking dairy.
You were also cooking meat. You were cooking turkey. What do you have to say for yourself, sir? Move the microphone. Spotlight.
I mean, people have to eat.
Right. Do we have to get you like a separate pan?
No, because I like that pan.
Right, but it is our dairy pan. It is not a meat pan, and it's not a mixing meat and milk pan.
Well, sometimes, people don't feel like buying 13,000 dishes.
And yet, you have mentioned wanting to have a panini maker. So, here's my offer to you. If you will stop trafing up my pans, knowing full... No, and here's the thing. Knowing full well this is not a thing we do.
No,
that's the thing that I think is really funny about
I get confused.
Okay, you may get confused,
exactly.
but you're not confused about that. You just do it anyway.
Yeah, because I have to eat. You want me to starve in this house?
No, I want to get different pots and pans for you to use.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of extra pots and pans. Are you gonna buy me the quality ones?
No, of course not.
Oh, well, you just want me to be a cheap buster and use the tear down pans from I don't even know.
We only have tear down pans. We have nothing nice. Not a single thing is nice in this household. We have one. We have of pots and pans. We have one Le Creuset pot. That's good. That's it. Also, we have to get rid of our spatulas now, by the way.
For what?
Because they're made of that black plastic that they're now saying has the flame retardant in it. Yeah, so.
Oh, I don't use those anyway.
Okay, well, that's not.
I use the metal one. Most of the time.
Yeah, that's the one I use.
Well.
Is that the one that you use to make your sandwich?
Oh, not today. I
Okay.
use the plastic one. That's why I washed it.
I see. Okay. Well, so I'm motivated to get you this panini press so that you'll stop messing up my pans.
Yeah, panini press.
So that was a pretty pro move on your part to like mess up the pans multiple times.
Yes, but water cleanses.
That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
Yes, it does. If I throw dirt on you and you go take a shower, aren't you clean?
Yeah, but there's more to it in Judaism. We have to make it more complicated all the time.
Well, sometimes life doesn't happen.
We don't have a don't ask, don't tell policy when it comes to the kosher status of our pots and pans. Or anything else in this household, for that matter.
Yeah, panini maker.
Kids. All right, cool. Moving on to the next thing. You have some news. What news topics you got for us?
Okay. So this relates to what we're talking about. So the Biden administration has issued a warning to Israel on the Gaza aid. The Biden administration...
Don't know what that has to do with panini presses and pots and pans.
No, it doesn't, but it has something to do with what's going on in the world, which we should all, pay attention to. Not just nationally, not just globally, but locally. Yeah, so the Biden administration is urging Israel to improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza or risk cutting arms sales, and he's threatening now an armed embargo.
Okay.
I mean, we talked about it in the car.
Right.
And, yeah, so that was the hot news that, I think that's the only hot news I had.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, my take on it is, again, as I say every time you read me the news about Israel, I don't work for, the, military there. I'm not privy to their information. I don't know what secrets they have that I don't have. And so, yeah, I mean, I obviously don't want war. I want Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Iran to say we surrender and then call it a day. So that's what I'm gaming for, even though I think that's pretty darn unlikely.
Okay, well, I said I had one only hot news topic.
Is there a second one? Okay.
Yes. So the Taliban, whatever.
Taliban,
yeah. Bans images and videos of all living things in Afghanistan.
Of all living things?
Yes.
Is this like an anti-idolatry thing, or like what? What's the context of this? What is this
That's
about?
the context.
They banned images of all living things.
Like people, animals.
So like no TV, no like...
Exactly.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing on that one. I don't know anything about radical Islam, so I don't think I'm an expert on that one.
And speaking of wars, Russia denied it, but everyone else is confirming it at this point.
Right.
But now he reported at least 3,000 North Korea soldiers arrived in Ukraine to fight alongside Russia in the war.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm very confused. I'm like, North Korea's over here.
Right.
Russia, Ukraine over here.
Right.
I just found a weird situation.
Yeah, it's a destabilizing the West.
Yeah, but move. North Korea doesn't have that many people to be going to a conflict. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not really like a highly populated country.
Right.
And then, like, this is weird. You would think a leader would be like, because this had nothing to do with them at the end of the day. Like, they could have stayed. There's
got to be some kind of business deal behind it. Like, in return, like North Korea gets oil or something, because they don't have that many trade partners. So
yeah, but oil is not going to replace people.
Yeah, like, I mean, but if they don't care about their citizens' well-being, then what do they? You know what I mean? That's the thing. They're a totalitarian regime.
Yeah,
so,
but
like, what do they care?
Just imagine if say in football,
okay,
right? You move the entire, offensive line,
mm-hmm.
and you're just left with the quarterback, and then I forgot what the position's called. That person that hikes the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. God, I can't think of that position. But that person. And then what happens?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the population of North Korea is, but I mean, it's a heavily militaristic society. So I suspect that, that combined with extreme nationalism would lead them to like maybe even want to go fight. What would be crazy? I mean, we don't know. We'll see what happens. What if a bunch of people defect?
Oh, like they get over it.
They get over there being like, oh yeah, we're totally gonna fight, and then they just
run.
And they just run.
I mean, but like, if they have families, like that's the risk you run.
If it's and who knows? I mean, if it's single men, they might take an attitude of like, I don't have a wife or kids, or
but
whatever.
They have parents.
They do. It's true.
I mean, I guess they could be like, break some eggs, make an omelet.
Maybe. I mean, people have done stuff like that, right?
I mean, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, we'll see.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Moral dilemma.
I would honestly, if I were a single man and I had no connections at all, like no family connections or whatever in North Korea, and someone said, "Hey, do you want to go fight in Ukraine?" I would probably think to myself, like, okay, that's a chance to escape, right? Because at least I'm in another country, right?
I mean,
like if I could find a way to like, rush over to the Ukrainian side and be like, defect or seek asylum or whatever. I mean, you're taking a chance with your life, hoping that it'll all work out. So that, I mean, you can get shot on the spot. That could be the end of that. But
I mean, you don't have to run to the Ukrainian side. Like, you can run like opposite. Like, I mean, you still have to like, say you're like in like the Donbass region.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say, like, I kind of wish we had a map. We could kind of like look at.
Like, easier to explain.
Okay, here, I'm gonna look at a map while you explain it.
But like, if you were in that region, like you're near Ukraine, but you're also near other countries. It is like all you have to do, or like sneaking out. It depends on how like they have it set up, but like escape is possible.
All right. Well, I was trying to look up Donbass, but apparently I don't know how to spell that. So, okay. And for some reason now I can't get Ukraine to come up. So, Ukraine. Go. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So, okay. So, it's Russia that's doing the deal with, North Korea. Okay. So, I don't want to run there. Yeah. So, if I was at like Kharkiv, where would I even go?
You can go to Mongolia. I mean, you really couldn't. I understand that.
Yeah, no, you couldn't. Yeah.
China?
Yeah, I mean, you could go to Moldova. I mean, I don't know how you'd get there. I mean, Moldova's an option. Let's see. Yeah, and there's all the stuff that's south is the Russian annexation area. So, like, you couldn't really do anything with that. Yeah, Moldova. Yeah, that would be...
Does it have an embassy?
Because Belarus isn't going to help you. I would assume Moldova has an embassy, unless you could make it all the way to Romania. But I mean, at that point, you're like, at that point, you're all the way in Odessa, so that's not even, yeah. So unless Belarus is willing to help you, which they're probably not. Yeah.
I mean, but if you're in Belarus, like, you could just scooch on over.
Well, yeah, but that's a whole lot of scooching. I
mean, do you want to live? People have ran further.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. So there's a mystery topic, and you've been like, you were sitting at dinner last night, and you desperately wanted to talk to me about it.
Because I think this needs to be a discussion.
And so I haven't heard anything about this at all. And I haven't looked at any of this. I have no idea. I have the link to the tweet so that then it can be posted in show notes. But That's it.
All right, you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
So Zionists are to Judaism the same way in which the Ku Klux Klan are to Christianity?
What?
She said Zionism.
I know, I heard it. Zionism is to Judaism what the KKK is to Christianity. That is, who is this person?
I don't know. I'm not on TikTok. I just seen it on Twitter.
This is some rando on TikTok posting it.
Yeah, so I was like,
way on Twitter. Okay.
This is a very interesting take.
This is a terrible take. It's completely ahistorical. It's also very Americanist. Like, way to center everything around you. Not you, but
I mean, right. Clearly was.
Well, I'm looking in your direction, so way to make it about you, right? That's about what I think about that. Way to make it about you. You're a person who feels like you. If you're a person who's saying that as a way of like making it a moral equivalence to support Palestinians, you didn't make it about them. You made it about you. You made it about American history. Yeah, like that's stealing someone's story, so that alone is terrible. And it's just also ahistorical. Like there's just no historical reality to that. So, Zionism, in a sense of wanting to have a Jewish sovereignty in the land of Israel, predates, anything that we consider to be modern statehood. I mean, it's literally in the Bible. It is talked about over and over and over again. The exile of the Jewish people and a desire to return. That desire to return is Zionism. It's just that simple. So to make an equivalence with like the KKK, I don't even I don't even know where to begin with that one. I kind of want to go
sit, like dissect it.
I think I need to sit in a quiet room and
I mean I dissected it.
Okay.
In like well
because also like okay, let's forget about the Israel part and just say KKK Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, the Ku Klux Klan, is something that existed long after the formation of the Christian religion. Forget about the fact that there are plenty of non-white people who are Christians, so that doesn't even work. But like on top of that, that particular hate group and its existence is not rooted in the religion. Like it doesn't. It's not. It's literally white supremacy. Now, they may read white supremacy into the Bible. Okay, fine. I guess that's what they might do. I don't know if they do or not. I assume so. But yeah, I'm flabbergasted. I'm just flabbergasted, honestly. I find that so ridiculous that I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, because I was like, because it did. I was like, I know I keep repeating the same thing, but I was like, maybe I could see like where they were trying to get at.
It's a weird emotional appeal.
Yeah, and like the way that you could see like there would be like some Israelis who don't want Palestinians like in the state of Israel. That is,
there might be racists who would feel that way. Sure.
Yeah. And like, so I get it from I get what you're trying to do, like that, and trying to make that equivalent to like the KKK not wanting like minorities to exist. So I think she was trying to make
it's just a bad connection.
And then like try to like, because they're two very different things. Like you said, one is like
different
directly rooted in the religion,
right?
And then one is a group using a religion to therefore then justify,
right?
So that's the only part I could see like where they were trying to get at, is like like some people being like, oh, we don't want you here, and this is our Israel, and we don't want anyone else in there,
right?
I was like, okay, but then when it came like everything else, I was like, well, no, because it just
a better thing to say would be something like, are there racists in Israel? Absolutely. I'm sure there are, because there are racists everywhere. Are there racists in America? Yes, sure. Is there a group in Israel that is so racist that and even then race isn't the right word. It would be more like ethnicity or religion, maybe would be another one. They use the word racist, but that's like a catch-all term. Mm-hmm. Race is not the word, because you have...
because isn't race like an American thing?
Yeah, well, this is where you'd have to ask an American historian to give a better explanation. But like, for most of human history, what people fought over was tribe. Mm-hmm. And so tribalism, I think, is probably more the word. And this is a thing I think a lot of people in the West don't understand about the Middle East, is that sort of tribal beef still exists, right? Like, we don't have that here. We have racism, we have class warfare, we have other things, which the painfulness of those things feels as painful as the pain over there, right? Like, a racist here would be just as painful as an anti-Semite there, or a person who's anti-Arab, let's say, over there. But it's not really race, because race is, you think about like skin tone, with the exception of a person maybe dressing more in like a traditional Islamic dress, less Western sort of style, modern dress. A Jew whose family is from Morocco would be indistinguishable racially, like skin tone wise, from a Palestinian who might have dark skin. And by the way, if you look at Palestinians, they're all shades, right? It's from very pale people to very dark, brown complected. So again, race is the wrong word. But I get how we use these like catch-all phrases and stuff like that. Yeah, but God, oh my God, that breaks my brain. This is why you had to save it for last, because that I would be. You knew I would be absolutely useless.
See, now you're gonna have to think about it.
Well, I would rather not actually, because I feel like it's absolutely bonkers. Yeah, wow. We might have to do a follow up. So save that. You know what? But here's I think what I would end on with that is, just because something has the same emotional power doesn't mean it's equivalent, right? So like, this is a really dumb example, but someone said this to me a while ago. We were talking about, and this is a little bit of a diss on Gen Z. I apologize. This was like a Gen Xer type conversation. Someone said to me, I feel like with Gen Z kids, like, all forms of pain feel like they're on the same level. So like, breaking up with your boyfriend is climate change. Like, there's no ability to compartmentalize. Like, this is a particular kind of pain. I will be able to get over it in this amount of time. This is another kind of pain. It feels this way. I'm going to get over it in this amount of time. Right. And so I think sometimes with like the Israel and Jewish sentiment and whatever, that's that.
All right. Well, so I will say, in defense of Gen Z, some of us touch grass, and like, there's a certain demographic that goes always and talks about climate change. If you know. So I just don't think that's.
Yeah, no, and like, that's why I said it's a really bad example. It's as bad as an example of this Zionism, Judaism, KKK Christianity. It's just as terrible. But that's kind of what I mean. Is like, I think there are people who, they feel things so strongly and so passionately, and what things actually are is not up for debate, because it feels that way. And yeah, I do not doubt that for certain people, like, let's say, feelings of anger, anxiety, about war, about the state of Israel, about Palestinians against, the Houthis and Hezbollah and whatever. Like, I can get that those things register at a certain emotional level. I do not question that one bit. People are entitled to feel the way they feel, even if I disagree with the facts that led them there. I think more often than not, people feel things and then they attach facts to them, rather than people see facts and they feel emotions behind them. That's what I would say about that. I'd like to know who that person is.
You got.
I'm gonna deep dive. I want to talk to this person, because that's a fascinating.
Yeah.
Unless, now see, here's the thing. Unless they were trying to call out someone who. Yeah, I want to know. I want to know the context, because they could be on either. They could be on either side of the fence on this one, right? Because they could either be making a false moral equivalence that's ahistorical because they believe that, because they feel those feelings, or they're making a false moral equivalence to bait people out, right? Or to call out someone who maybe has a bad argument for something, and they're like, "Well, so what you're saying?"
No, probably not. Probably not.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, let's end on a quote. What you got for us?
So, this quote is a quote that I think about like almost every day. Not that it applies to me every day, but it just rings in my head every day.
Okay.
I'll be closing off with a quote from Hellen Keller. And it says, "Keep your face to the sunshine so you cannot see a shadow." That's, great last thing.
Does it apply to you all the time, but when it does?
No, because I don't care about the shadows. Like, but
it's good for you to know.
Yeah. Good for you to know. Good for you to think about. Keep your face to that sun. Do not let these demons try to drag you down with them into the dark place.
Nice. I like it. Well, thank you everyone for watching as usual. Like, share, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. Reach out, post those comments. We promise that we're reading them. We want to know what you think. Help us make this better. Help us know what you want us to talk about. Thanks a lot. Thank you to our sponsors at Darshan Yeshiva for making this content possible. Darshan Yeshiva provides beginner-level online Jewish learning, including the very popular Conversion to Judaism program, with sponsoring rabbis and students all over the world. Start your Jewish journey any place, anywhere, and anytime with our conservative, reform, reconstructionist, Jewish renewal, humanistic, and post-denominational rabbi mentors. Become the Jew you always wanted to be with Darshan Yeshiva.